Hi everyone, I am so excited. I'm about to watch Demon Slayer, the movie Mugen Train. Oh my goodness, I have been waiting for this movie for such a long time, but then it came out in the theaters, but because of COVID, COVID and stuff, I didn't want to chance it going to the movie theaters, and now I get to watch it at home on Funimation. So yeah, what the heck exactly happened last episode? It's been so many months since I saw Demon Slayer. I know all of them are going on a journey, right? They're about to join the Flame Hashira on this mission on the train, and that's where this is gonna happen. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the movie itself is gonna sort of like catch me up on everything that happened during the season. Maybe not during the whole season, but at least give me a refresher of everything that's happened before. But yeah, I just want to get into this movie, man. And before we get into it, if you guys have my reaction, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and please consider supporting on Patreon at patreon.com/feelingmini, where you can find the full length for this reaction and yeah, everything else over there. And because Demon Slayer, I'm not really comfortable posting the reaction highlight on YouTube. I'm gonna cut it, you know. So the link is gonna be in the description box and in the comment section. So just click on it, go watch the reaction, and just come back for my review of the movie. And now let's start this episode. And here we go. I remember thinking last season, the last episode when he was going on this journey, and then there was this moment between Rengoku and the woman Hashira. Let's see if I remember her name. I think her name is Lady Tamayo. I think. I'm not totally sure. I remember there was this scene between them two, and she was telling him, I think she was telling him to be careful, and my first thought was that I hope he was not gonna die, because the way that scene played out, it seemed like she was saying goodbye to him. So when we got into this movie, and of course they had trouble getting rid of this lower demon, but then they did it, and then this upper level demon showed up, and I'm like, from that moment on, I knew he was gonna die. But as I was watching him fight, I kept hoping that he was gonna make it. So that's why during the fight, as amazing as everything was like playing out on screen, I couldn't muster up the energy to be excited, because I knew what was coming. I felt what was coming. And then I don't know what they, both of them, Akaza and Rengoku, they did this amazing moves and whatever, and there was all this smoke, and you see Inosuke and Tanjiro looking, and Inosuke is asking like if he did it, and I'm like, when the smoke cleared out, and then you see the hand through the when I saw that, I'm like, okay, he's gonna die. But then they showed this little backstory with him and his mom. And then he found another strength, and as he unleashed this nine form, and then he's like, he's gonna have to destroy his body so much. And then during all of that, he started cutting his neck, and I'm like, okay, is he actually gonna defeat him? You know, I had that little hope. And then the sun was coming up, and the demon was afraid, and he wanted to go, but then Rengoku was able to hold him in. And then Tanjiro got up and wanted to help. I was hoping that even if Rengoku was gonna die, that the fact that the demon was stuck, I was hoping that Rengoku was gonna take him along with him. You know, that his death was not gonna be in vain, sort of. But he was able to run away. And that scene, when Tanjiro was calling out to the demon, telling him not to run away. And that is because they have the advantage of hiding in the shadows and regenerating. And that because they are humans and they don't have that ability, that's why. Then when he was saying that Rengoku's the one that actually won, that whole scene just, because up until then, I was holding back the tears. But then as he started like screaming after this demon, and then the music that was playing, it's like, I couldn't hold back anymore. After he told Tanjiro to go back to his house, because Tanjiro wanted to learn more about that ability, the instinct, Kagura, whatever. And Rengoku remembered when he was in his dream about this book or something that has more information about it. And then he told him to go to his house, give him a message for his little brother. And then when the mom showed up, and then was asking the mom if he lived up to her expectations. Ugh. You know, I said before that I didn't want him to die in vain, because I wanted him to take that demon along with him. But he didn't. Yes, he didn't do that, but none of the people that were on the train died. And that was because of him. Mostly because of him and because of the others. Like when I think it was Zenitsu that was saying it, that when the train was like derailing and everything after they defeated the lower demon, that it was Rengoku that was able to basically save everybody. And then Zenitsu showed up there And they told him what happened, and all of them were crying because they couldn't believe that Rengoku was dead. Even Inosuke was crying. Like, he was trying to act tough throughout everything, and what he was saying made sense, but he was also affected by it. Like, I loved that scene. It made me, like, when Rengoku was facing that demon, and then he shouted out, like, Inosuke and Tanjiro, they wanted to go help, right? And then he just told them to stay away. And you see Inosuke like this. Like, his voice was so commanding that even Inosuke couldn't, like he was frozen in place. And to see that amazing person that he admired so much die, and he couldn't do anything. Him and Tanjiro, they couldn't do anything. I need to move away from that because I will keep crying. Oh, they actually started this movie because they were going after. There was this demon on the train, right? They didn't actually know what the situation was, so they were on the train. That's when they first met Rengoku on the train, and he kept saying delicious. And it was just, I don't know, his personality was so weird. Like, he was on the train and he would be eating this delicious food and he kept saying delicious, that he felt like his eyes was always, like, he was always looking forward. And I don't know, it was just so weird. It was such a weird scene. And then Tanjiro will be asking him questions and will be like, sometimes I felt like, I don't know, that he was a puppet that was there, that it wasn't really Rengoku, just because of the way that he was talking and answering his questions. It wasn't until he went through a little bit more details on his answer, I guess, to Tanjiro, that I'm like, okay, it's not a puppet, because his answers up till then felt like, I don't know, like a robot speaking or something. So they were on this train, and then based on the trailers, I knew they were gonna be stuck in the train. So when the conductor came in and then he started punching the ticket, and I'm like, okay, this must have something to do with the train. And they were all, these two demons showed up, and Rengoku was able to take care of them like pretty easily. And then they were all so happy and wanting him to teach them, you know, swordsmanship and everything. Wanted him to be their master. And they were all so happy and everything. And then in the next scene, like, the screen went dark, and then they woke up, and they woke up. When the screen cleared up, they were all sleeping. And then you see these people just showed up and like started tying ropes around their hands, around their wrists. And I'm like, what the heck does that do? And then basically they were using those ropes to sort of like get into those dreams that each of them were having. Oh my gosh. That was so cruel, to have Tanjiro be sort of like reunited with his dead family, knowing that they were dead, and then he's giving them this sort of like dream. And I'm like, while all of that was going on, I'm like, okay, where is Nezuko in all of this? Why isn't Tanjiro asking about her? I feel like once he starts asking about her, then he's gonna know that something is wrong here. And yeah, that's what happened. He asked about Nezuko, and they said she was up somewhere doing something. And then I think that at that moment, Nezuko was like waking up, got out of her box, and she tried to wake him up by headbutting him, but we all know that his head is like really hard. So she started bleeding, and she did something, and then Tanjiro started smelling her smell. He started smelling her, and that's what pushed him to like actually figure out that he was in a dream. And then when he figured that out and then he wanted to get away from them, then the whole family started going after him, try to lure him back, sort of. And then Nezuko actually showed up in the dream. I don't know why I thought that he wasn't gonna show up. Like, okay, we know that Nezuko was actually in the real world. She was not in the dream world. And I thought the fact that she wasn't actually dead, that she wasn't going to show up in the dream, but she showed up being the way that she used to be. And Tanjiro had to make the conscious decision to leave all of them behind because they're dead. And he was going away from them, running away. And then you see the person that attached himself to him trying to get to his what was it called again? His core, something core, but his core wanted to get there, and then he got into his dream world, and it was this nice blue sky with this beautiful horizon, this calm and peaceful feeling all the way throughout. And the guy said it was warm, and I knew him seeing that was gonna change him. And yeah, when he woke up, he thanked Tanjiro. But then they showed the others' dreams. Rengoku's was with his father and his little brother, Senjuro. Yeah, his little brother, and apparently it was a memory of him telling his father that he became a Hashira, but the father didn't particularly care about that. So they said that his father was a Hashira as well, but then something happened and then he sort of became disillusioned with the demon core and all that. We just don't know exactly what happened. And the little brother was like, after Rengoku told the father, and Senjuro was waiting for him, and he asked him if he also became a Hashira, if the father was going to be proud of them or take more notice of them or something. Clearly, after whatever it is that happened and he left the demon core, he just didn't care about anything, not his family or everything else. But he didn't used to be like that. But even though his father was like that, Rengoku tried to make his little brother not, I guess just trying to make him see that he should just do him and not bother about how their father might be feeling about it or something. And then you see the girl that was in Rengoku's dream trying to kill the core, and like Rengoku just like was choking her in the real world, but he was still dreaming. Right, but he still felt like something was wrong, and he like got hold of her. And then in Zenitsu's dream, he was just having this dream about it. Nezuko. You know, his dream was the weirdest of all, man. Like, he felt like he was in his own kingdom, and then he had these little minions, you know, with Nezuko, Tanjiro, and Zenitsu, and the train was the monster that they needed to defeat or whatever. I'm like, boy. And then both the people that were inside their dreams trying to kill the core, destroy the core or whatever. In Zenitsu's dream, there was this other version of him that had these big scissors in his hand and he wanted to cut the... Was it a girl? I think it was a girl. No, I don't know. I think it was a man. And I thought for a second that, you know how Zenitsu's other side only, like his cool side only shows up when he's like unconscious. So I thought maybe that version of him was the version that actually does all those cool moves and everything. No, it was just him. Clearly, the saying that that space was only Nezuko was allowed to be there or something. And then in Inosuke's case, it was just like a big version of him going after those two. Whatever. The point is, they weren't able to destroy their cores because they didn't know how to deal with their subconscious, their dream world. Whatever. Only Tanjiro woke up and he told Nezuko to help the others wake up as well while he goes after the demon. And the way Tanjiro woke up, he's like, okay, there's only one way, there's only one thing that I can cut to wake up. And he's like, he has to cut his neck. And I'm like, oh my gosh. To have the strength to kill yourself, even if it's a dream, and I cut the head off. And then he started going after the demon, and the demon started using his demon art or whatever, trying to put him to sleep. And it looked like he wasn't working. Like each time he was doing it, it looked like he wasn't working. Until he mentioned the fact that he is actually going to sleep. And that Tanjiro was killing himself like over and over and over again just to wake up, back up. I'm like, yo, how many times? That is someone with a strong willpower, man. Because I don't think I will be able to be doing that, even knowing that it's a dream. I kill myself like over and over and over again. Who does that? Tanjiro, I guess. But he kept doing that and doing that. He was able to cut the head off, but then it wasn't actually the true head of the demon, because he said he fused himself with the train. So now they had to find his real self, real body. Rengoku was the one that told him that. He woke up to that moment where Nezuko was fighting the demon from the inside, keeping it from killing the passengers, and then the demon's body or whatever started keeping hold of Nezuko, and I'm like, someone has got to help. And then at first my mom went to Tanjiro, but then my mom, I'm like, what if he's Zenitsu? And then he showed up with his thunderclap and flash, I think. Like, so cool. So he came to her help. So both of them were like fighting the demon from the inside, and then you had Inosuke also show up where Tanjiro was, and Rengoku told them to he said he was gonna, there's like 8 cars or whatever, he was gonna take care of the passengers of the 5 cars, and then those 3 we needed to find the actual head, I guess, of the demon. And then they found it, but if it was only one person, it would have been really hard. If it was a Hashira, I'm sure it would be like really easy. But since Tanjiro was not at that level yet, and then each time he tried to cut the thing, he would sort of regenerate. So he had to, like, him and Inosuke had to work together, right? One will like destroy the flesh thingies around the neck, and then the other one will cut the neck. And while they were trying to do that, all these eyes like showed up around the body around the demon's body, whatever, and kept putting Tanjiro to sleep until this particular moment where he wasn't actually asleep, but then Tanjiro was just killing himself so much that he thought he was asleep and was about to kill himself, like for real, until Inosuke stopped him. And because Inosuke had this like the boar hat on his head, the demon didn't actually know where Inosuke was looking, so he couldn't use his powers to put Inosuke to sleep. And so those two joined together, and then they cut the neck off. And then the demon was dying. And then when he started speaking, am I gonna die here or something or other? You know how during the anime, usually when they kill a demon, they show this little backstory to sort of make you, I don't know, remember who this demon used to be as a human or whatever, and you feel for the demon and everything. In this particular case, I'm like, I don't care what they show me, I'm not gonna feel bad about this guy. And actually, I'm glad that they didn't show me any sad stuff about him. He still wanted to kill people or whatever until he disappeared. So I'm like, okay, whatever, goodbye. So after that happened, and I'm like, yay, they defeated the demon, so the movie must be ending, right? But then that dude showed up. I don't want to go into this anymore because I feel like I'm going to start crying again. So that happened. So after all that happened, and then you see this one crow that was there, and then as the crow was flying away, he was crying, and then he went straight to, is it Lady Tamayo? Oh no, to the woman Hashira. He went to her. Like every Hashira was hearing the news. Some of them didn't believe it. And then the master was like, I'm not glad that the fact that all those people lived, he said he's happy and that he's not sad that Rengoku died, and that he was also gonna die soon and join up with the others, with all the other dead people. How long does he have to go before he dies? And if he dies, who's gonna become the new master? How do they choose the new master? I don't know. They showed all the upper demons instead of like shadow, the shadowy figure. That's why when this one actually showed up, his form reminded me of one of the shadows, and I'm like, okay, this must be an upper level, and he's an upper 3, whatever. But the fact is, he ran away from Rengoku, because yeah, I feel like if he was actually there, I don't want to go through this again. I love this movie, like the beginning part of it, up until that demon showed up. I'm like, I loved, but then just the last part of it just made me sad. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like this reaction, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and yeah, if you want to see the full length of this reaction, you can check it out on my Patreon at patreon.com/Philamini, and I'll see you next time. Bye.